With the success of Godzilla carrying strong from the mid-50s to the 60s, the writing was on the wall that giant monsters meant big box office returns, especially for Japan. It is not surprising that several rival film studios, both foreign and domestic, engaged in a kind of copycat campaign in an attempt to replicate Toho's success. The result was several new giant movie monsters hoping to cash in on Godzilla's popularity. However, while most of these were done with the intent of becoming a series mascot carrying their own franchise, the lackluster performances resulted in a collection of one-shot kaiju stars that failed to escape Godzilla's shadow. And while fans of these films would decree them as cult classics, most have fallen by the wayside into relative obscurity. Which is why it is surprising that amidst this slew of failed would-be challengers to Godzilla, a true rival emerged. Gamera, the guardian of the universe, the invincible, the friend of all children. What began as an attempt to ride Godzilla's coattails resulted in the creation of the third most popular giant movie monster of all time, beaten only by the likes of King Kong and Godzilla himself. The titanic titular terrapin has released a total of 12 titles spanning the last 60 years across 3 generations of the franchise, and now, after a very long hiatus, the giant monster returns. With the new series Gamera Rebirth premiering on Netflix September 7th, Gamera will make his first major on-screen appearance in 17 years. With the latest resurgence of giant monster movies in the popular zeitgeist, fans have awaited with great anticipation for Gamera to finally rise from the shadows and have his day in the sun. And now, with this Netflix series, our patience has finally paid off. The advertising for the series reveals that it will not only revive Gamera, but 5 enemy monsters from his rogues gallery, some not seen since the Showa Era. Much like the titular character, these kaiju are being given the long-overdue and much-needed update to their characters and designs, finally putting them back in the spotlight. In celebration of the oncoming series, the Omni Viewer has set forth Monstrous Moments, the Rebirth Edition, and kaiju tubers all around the globe are banding together to examine and praise moments across the Gamera franchise. As such, I would like to take the opportunity to examine a moment in Gamera's history in celebration of the Titan Turtle's triumphant return. I am the Linkzilla. Join me as I rediscover one of these moments from the franchise, one that details exactly how Gamera was updated for a more serious-minded audience and darker tone for the times, while staying true to his title of the friend of all children in one monstrous moment. The moment in question comes from 1995's Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, the first entry of the Heisei Gamera trilogy, and the first film in the series since 1980. As such, it was Gamera's big screen return to try and reinvigorate interest in the character. Thusly, most of Gamera's child-friendly aspects and light-hearted tone were rolled back, and the character was updated almost from the ground up. Gamera's prehistoric origins were replaced with a new backstory, making him the artificial creation of an ancient civilization and intrinsically linking him with his most iconic nemesis, Gyaos. I'll probably make a video further exploring this topic in the future, but I have often said that Guardian of the Universe is a near-perfect template to reboot a giant monster franchise. It gives a means of reintroducing the monster characters in an entertaining way, while also staying true to the fundamentals of the characters themselves. But this begs the question of how this movie adapts Gamera's facet of being the friend of all children. Yes, during the 60s, filmmakers noticed the growing trend that giant monsters like Godzilla appealed greatly to small children, and a sizable audience was amassing. Daiei created Gamera as a means to ride this oncoming wave and unabashedly geared Gamera's movies to kids, usually featuring one or two kids serving as the film's main protagonists, inevitably becoming Gamera's de facto sidekicks of the film. This ultimately garnered Gamera's reputation as being a more kid-friendly alternative to Godzilla. There was no denying it that Gamera's association with children is deeply entrenched with his character. And while most franchises would completely ignore this facet of a character for a grittier, serious-toned reboot, the writers for Guardian of the Universe decided to simply roll it back, imply it rather than outright state it. Actions speak louder than words, after all, and while Gamera isn't going to have a friendly race with a kid's submarine set to campy music in this movie, his actions will show that he does indeed have a connection to the youth of Japan. To recap the movie, a trio of carnivorous flying reptiles, revealed to be Gyaos, emerge from Himagami Island, prey on the unsuspecting population, and begin making their way towards mainland Japan. This reboots Gyaos while staying true to the main themes of the creature, flying, carnivorous, nocturnal predator with a taste for human flesh, while updating the design of the creature for a more, realistic take. Plus, establishing there's more than one ups the danger factor. At the same time, Gamera is presented as a strange floating chunk of debris in the ocean, nearly damaging a ship carrying plutonium. Gamera has awakened in response to the Gyaos awakening and the threat that they could pose to the planet's ecosystem. In this movie, Gyaos was created by the ancient civilization to literally be a perfect genetically engineered life form, but when Gyaos proved too difficult to control, the civilization created Gamera and programmed him with a singular-minded purpose to hunt down and destroy Gyaos wherever he could find them. When Gamera awakens in this movie, he immediately goes on the hunt to destroy the 3 Gyaos that have hatched before they reach full size and feed and propagate unopposed. Seems serious and a bit dark, while all fairly simple enough. But how does being the friend of all children fit into that job description? Well, it's tied into how the movie states that Gamera definitively is the good guy and on mankind's side against the Gyaos. It's important to do so because part of the movie's plot is the assumption that since Gamera is the larger of the 2 monsters, he poses the greater threat. After all, in his introductory scene, Gamera causes more damage than the Gyaos could ever possibly hope to, so the officials are right to not trust him at the start. Therefore, it's up to our main characters to figure out what's going on. While discussing the strange monolith found on Gamera's back while the creature was dormant, Yanimori gives Kusanagi's daughter Asagi one of the various beads found across Gamera's back. Supposedly, these things are made out of orichalcum, the mythical alchemic element tied to Atlantean mythology, but you probably know it best as one of the rarest and hardest to obtain crafting materials across various RPG franchises. So let me see if I've got this straight. That is not only verifiable evidence of the merits of alchemy, but also an ancient artifact proving the existence of the lost civilization of Atlantis, and he gives it to Asagi as a gift, and Asagi wears it as a necklace charm. Priceless ancient artifact proving the existence of what was believed to be a mythical, lost civilization, and it's being given to a teenage girl to be worn around her neck. The movie even points out how, because it was found on the expedition, that bead is now technically government property, and yet there doesn't seem to be any major consequences for this at all. Sorry to go off on a tangent like this, but usually when it comes to the US government, ancient artifacts of incredible and unknowable power are seized and sent off to be examined by top men.
Ooh. Top men.
But this proves to be essential, as these beads turn out to be the key that links Asagi's spirit to Gamera, and allows him to draw strength from her. But I've set the stage enough, let's get on to the moment itself. Gyaos sightings have led our characters to a small village in the Kiso Mountains. The area is being evacuated, only for Nagamine to be the last one out trying to rescue a small boy, tripping and getting herself caught halfway across the bridge. Even more unfortunate is the revelation that the Gyaos have clearly grown since the last sighting, now nearly twice as large as they were before. Yanemori comes in to shield them from the oncoming predator and help get Nagamine free. When the Gyaos comes back around for another pass, however, Gamera emerges on the scene, revealing another of his classic powers, his fiery breath, only this time also updated for the reboot in the form of highly concentrated plasma fireballs rather than a steady flamethrower stream. The movie makes the claim that because Gamera had been sleeping for thousands of years, the creature might not have been at its full power when it first woke up, therefore it had to go into hiding to build up its strength before pursuing the Gyaos. This scene could be indicative of the turtle monster being fully charged after dormancy, but I suspect the filmmakers intended something else. As I mentioned, Asagi's Atlantean charm necklace links her spirit with Gamera, and it allows him to draw strength from her. I like to think that what the movie is trying to imply is that the Atlanteans built in a kind of failsafe when it comes to Gamera to ensure that he remains on humanity's side. Keep in mind that this scene only happens after Asagi is given the bead, thus connecting her to Gamera. I suspect that Gamera is only given access to his full powers, including his plasma fireballs, after forming a bond with a human, definitively making a statement that Gamera is on our side in this conflict and that he's going to fight to protect us. It's also no accident that Asagi is a teenage girl. She's still a child in the context of the movie, and yet Gamera forms a special connection to her. This is the movie's referencing Gamera's function as the friend of all children. It's a phenomenon that I call legitimizing the source material, trying to add plausibility to rather fantastic or downright silly aspects of a character. In this case, the movie justifies Gamera being the friend of all children by having him literally draw power and strength from children. But if you need more convincing, the scene doesn't stop there. His fireballs disintegrate one of the two remaining Gyaos, leaving only one for the remainder of the film. Gamera continues to approach the bridge as the final Gyaos circles about for an attack. The humans attempt to escape the bridge, only to be stunned by the ear-splitting, glass-shattering pitch of Gyaos charging up her sonic scalpel beam. Gyaos releases her attack, seeming with the intent of killing the humans rather than attacking Gamera. The humans are protected, however, when Gamera shields them with his own hand to deflect the scalpel beam, sustaining injury to himself but allowing the humans to recover and get away. The movie even makes it a point of having Gamera watch as the people get to safety, even seeming to give a nod of approval when they are. The film is implicitly trying to tell us Gamera's motives here. It might be better to say that Gamera's actions here are indicative of his desire to protect mankind, but consider the fact that the group had a child with them, the young boy that Nagamine rescued at the start of the scene. The movie is sending the clear message that Gamera's altruistic acts are no mere general gesture. He shielded those people to protect the kid with them. This scene shows that Gamera is willing to put his own personal safety on the line if it means protecting a single child from Gyaos. And the film goes on to show that this connection to the children of Japan, particularly with Asagi, is essential to Gamera's success in defeating the Gyaos. But it also shows that this connection is not inherently one-sided, and there is a price to be paid. In sharing her strength with Gamera, Asagi must also share his pain, and throughout this movie, this takes a great physical toll on her body, meaning that her life is on the line as well, and Gamera must succeed for her sake as well as the rest of the world. And that is why Gamera will not allow himself to fail. With Asagi's help, he will defeat Gyaos and prove definitively, once and for all, that in addition to being the guardian of the universe, he is still the friend of all children. It is for these reasons and more that I chose this to be my one monstrous moment. I hope you all enjoyed this video and share what you think, but we also want to hear from you now. Share your own monstrous moments from the Gamera franchise down below, or better yet, make your own videos exploring which scenes from the franchise speak to you and which truly have merit to be focused on. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day, and let them hear you roar.